And now I will present the person that always supports me to publish a research paper, the person that leads me the right way in cloud computing, Dr. Yousif Al Bastaki.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Professor Dr. Mansour Al-Ali, dear colleagues, it's a great pleasure for me to be standing in front of you and try to give this short speech. I know it is, this speech actually I was preparing it for a conference, but the opportunity came here to present it. So I'll try to avoid a number of slides at the beginning. Then we'll talk about what we are going to do. The speech is about electronic noise. How many of you have heard about electronic noise? Well, you heard about it in the class then. Okay. So electronic noise is a new way or technique to do a number of things. So we'll try to talk about it and see what is it and what we can do with it. Okay? So I'll try to avoid technical issues as much as I can. I'll try to present it in a very basic and I hope it is a nice way. So we'll be talking about what is Enos, why we need an Enos, and we'll focus on Enos applications. We'll talk about a little bit about what type of research we started doing here at Ahlia in terms of Enos, and we'll talk briefly about the future of Enos. Okay? Because I prepared this for conference outside, so I'll try to talk a little bit about Ahlia, where I came from. So I'll start from this slide. One of the colleges of Ahlia, as you know, is information technology. Recently, we formed a sort of what we call an Enos research group. So all this work is coming within this Enos research group. We concern about two main topics in this research group. We focus a little bit on the design of Enos and mainly on applications of Enos. So, to understand Enos, we have what we call an olfaction system of a human being, which is the system, biological system in the human being. This is how we can smell things. Okay? So, we can imagine it, this olfaction system, as if we have some sort of a database at the back of our head. This system detects odors or smells biologically, identifies the specific component of the odor, and somehow, with the God, the way He created us, analyzes its chemical makeup to identify it, to know what is this smell. And this is how we smell things. For instance, when you smell an apple, from back of your head, there's a database. You know that you are smelling an apple, okay? When you smell, for example, a berry or anything, similarly happens. When you smell a perfume, similarly happens. But what happens if you smell something new? Then you don't have this smell in your database. You'll start learning, what is it? What is this smell? So once you smell it, then you learn what is it. It will be automatically somehow stored in the database at the back of the head. Next time if you smell it, then you'll know what is it. Okay? What we are trying to do in Enos is to mimic this biological system and try to do it electronically. Why we need to do this? Okay? For example, currently in all borders, in airports, all sorts of borders, we use dogs to smell if somebody is smuggling a drug or doing something illegal. Most of the times, we use these dogs. Okay? The problem with the dogs are it costs a lot to train them, and the life of dogs is very short. Okay? Yes, it's worth it to invest in this, and a lot of investment is happening in this, but still, another problem is that sometimes these dogs, they go fatigued. They don't recognize or they cannot detect the smell of the drug or anything that's being smuggled. So, can we have some sort of an electronic dog which will do these type of things where the lifespan of these dogs are long and doesn't need a lot of training and can detect all sorts of things as being smuggled. So this is what we are trying to do in Enos concept. Another issue is related to explosive, for example. We use dogs to detect explosive. So what we are trying to do here to see, is there any possibility to have some sort of an electronic device which can detect these type of explosives in terms of smelling, okay? So this is what we are trying to do here. Now, let's jump a little bit more and see about what doctors they used to do in the Middle Ages. Usually they do take a sample of the blood. Sometimes they used to smell it, look at it, and even test it, just to diagnose some type of diseases. This is what the doctors used to do, okay, in the Middle Ages. Doctors used to use their own sense to diagnose a specific disease or any type of disease. If we look at the human, especially when it comes to the lung, okay, the blood usually takes oxygen and food to all of your living cells in your body. It also takes back all the litters and garbage, if we might say. It's a human being, by the way, that comes out of the cells back, okay? The blood has a good interaction with the lung. The lung takes oxygen from the air, and the blood takes this oxygen to the cells in our body and takes back CO2, and a number of gases comes out when we do breathe. Researchers find that nearly 2,500 different of chemicals come out of our breath. Can we use a human breath through an Enos to detect or to diagnose diseases? This is one of big research area. Recently, for just specimen, they developed a device, a small device, they call it an Enos, which predicts that a specific person might get one sort of cancer only. So they designed these Enos to do that. So Enos is promising a little bit. One of the research going around here is that we have a sort of a national database which collects the breath of sick people, especially those who have cancer. So once we select these samples, we can do an analysis to check if there is any sort of patterns in these breath, so we can eventually diagnose diseases based on these breath samples. So this is one of the biggest project nowadays running in Europe. They are doing this, they are working on this in different ways. Another thing, we have people who we call them anosmic people. Those people who they have smell disorders, they cannot smell, okay? Can we aid them by designing a device which protects them from a number of risks? For example, gas leak, fire, spoiled food. All of these issues we can solve if we have a good Enos. We talked about future cars. Now people are thinking to design a car which can smell. The future cars might smell. If you are going to a dangerous area, there's a gas leak, anything happening, some burning things happening within the engine of the car, your car can detect that and smells that. Okay? Another issue people are working on is to have some sort of mobile phone with Enos. Instead of going to the clinic, giving some sort of blood test, urine, or anything, you can just give a sample of your breath, and this mobile will detect or diagnose what type of disease you might have. So, what is Enos? Enos is an electronic device, okay, intended to detect odors or flavors. Nowadays, there's something they call it e-tongue as well. They call it e-tongue as well. But this is mainly concerned with Enos. how we design Enos. Okay? Usually we have an odor, we have sensor arrays, then we have neural network. We fed whatever data we collect through sensors. Okay? Currently, I'm using a very old sensor, which is active and it's doing good. Stopped working for some times, then we aid it a little bit, we make it working. We feed this data, which we collect to artificial neural network to mimic the olfaction system of a human being, to detect what type of odor is this. So we worked in part number 1. And part number 2, we designed a program, or we customized the program, artificial neural network, and give us a very good result. Okay? Nowadays, we are spending more time in collecting data and doing a proper analytic for data in this research. Okay? For instance, you can take any type of, okay, you have chemical vapors, you have chemical sensor arrays, artificial neural network, you gather them together, integrate them in a small device, which we might call an Enos. Okay. Some of our research, this happens in 2004. We have used OMX GR sensors to collect some vapors or to collect some odors using perfumes. And we succeeded in that to a certain extent, and we published a number of papers in this work. During 2014 and a little bit earlier, 2004 and earlier, we had a problem of the power of some of the computers. We couldn't do much about it. But recently, we have very powerful computers. We can do much more. So this is one of the works which we did. What we did, we published a book in electronic nose technology and advances in machine olfaction. This is an edited book. It's very well received and very well recognized. We did that as part of our research. Another thing we did, we did some work with Enos for food spoilage detection. This happened with one of my master's students. We used mutton, beef, and chicken, and we managed to identify or to distinguish these 3 types of subjects, and we can detect if it is spoiled or not. We did that, and we had a very good result in this research. Another promising research we can work on, is can we embed smell or odor in multimedia? Currently, multimedia, we have, if you look at the sense, we have visual, we use the sight, we have auditory for sound, we have olfactory. Can we include smell to be one of multimedia component? We published a paper on this, by the way, and it is well received, but still there are a lot of things need to be done in this part. We can work, if anybody is interested, we can work in this. And there are what we call it, the touch thing is there, perception of flavor then, which we call it the test. People are working in something called e-tongue, and a very promising research area. Currently, now, we started with some of our students working in, MSc students working in detecting these type of markers. We are trying to design an Enos or a program which can distinguish between these type of markers. We use the markers because these markers gives very strong smell, okay? And we collected data about them using these type of sensors, and we started to do some sort of analysis in these. Another issue, we'll come back to the markers because this is the main work we are doing. Another issue is, can we integrate smell sense into robots? This is one of the applications, and we have a chapter published in this in one of the books and well received as well. So humanoid robots which are similar to humans, can we integrate the smell on them? This is one of the works we are working as well. Simply, if we can do this, take the new artificial neural network program with sensor array and odor, embed that into a device and include this device or embed it, make it part of the robot, then we might have a robot which can which can be integrated with the smell sense and detect smells. These are some of the data samples which we used for board markers to distinguish them. We collected huge data. This is only part of it. We collected very huge amount of data, okay? We started to do a proper analysis for these data, okay? We are using some analytical tools nowadays. This is a 3D which shows the red marker. Okay, we have the time and the classification and the strength of the odor which we are using. This shows a very good pattern. We can rely on this because it is done in a way, starts a little bit small, then goes strong. This comes down, down, down. The odor strength will become easy. So the aim of this analytic is to collect the proper sample which we have, or identify the proper sample which we have collected from the sensor. For example, this is a strange reading. This is for the black marker. It shows very strange reading. So maybe the marker which we used was dry or was exposed to air for so long. So the reading went very crazy. Big data students, this is the answer of some of your questions. So it went very crazy for some times. So we need to look at it. We need to do more analysis to this and understand it. Similarly, the blue is going very nice, and the green markers weren't very nice. So what we do after we collect all these samples, we do the proper analysis on it. We look at it, which sample is more suitable for our research. Then we'll feed this sample. After we have done all the analysis we need, we feed it to an artificial neural network program which can detect. This is one of the samples which we did, and we detected very nice in a very good accuracy as well, and we received very good result. These are some of our publications which we have published in different places based on what we have been doing, okay? These are some of our future publications which are in progress. We are defining an artificial neural network-based computerized nose for clinical diagnosing, a framework for odor sensing system. We are doing a food spoilage detection, more details, humanoid robots with odor sensing. There are one last research which we are doing, and I hope some students will take part of these or the new one. We are trying to use odor sensing for authentication purposes. Now we use iris, we use fingerprints for authentication. So is there a possibility of use any odors produced by human body to authenticate a user or not? Thank you very much. This was briefly what we are doing. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that I conveyed the message I wanted to. Thank you.